Welcome into another episode of the Patriots Podcast. I'm your host, Beej.com, Beethoven, whatever you want to call me. This is episode 11. I got a short episode for y'all today. I just wanted to get on here and kind of just talk some of the things that's happened over the past week. But like I said, it's going to be a short episode because not really much to talk about in the Patriots off season right now. So I want to start with something that I left off on the last episode. Can't believe I really left it off. Well, I can, but I shouldn't, as somebody who makes a Patriots related podcast. Julian Edelman was elected to the Patriots Hall of Fame a few weeks ago, and that's huge news. He was up against Logan Mankins and Adam Vinatieri, lineman and a kicker, who were a part of the first dynasty. Well, yeah. Especially Adam Vinatieri. Obviously, he hit all the big kicks in the first dynasty. And Julian Edelman was a part of the second dynasty. And outside of Brady, was really the first player to be put into the Patriots Hall of Fame from that second iteration of the dynasty. So I just wanted to quick hit there. That's huge news. You know, as a Patriots fan, I appreciate everything that Jules did for us. Scrappy guy, 7th-round pick, played quarterback in college, came in, receiver, punt return, kick return, safety, cornerback, wherever they needed him at, that's what he did, and eventually turned himself into a predominant NFL receiver, especially in Patriots history. Super Bowl MVP. Just, I think he's top 3 in like catches in the playoffs. Just completely, zero to hero kind of story. So that's a huge deal, and I think it's the beginning. Obviously outside of Tom Brady, it's the beginning of those players from the second part of the dynasty to start trickling their way into the Patriots Hall of Fame. Obviously Gronk should be next. Devin McCourty, Matthew Slater, James White. These type of players that were on the second part of the dynasty are going to start trickling into the Patriots Hall of Fame. Now, for some of the old heads that remember like the first dynasty, that might kind of shift when some of those players, like an Adam Vinatieri, gets in, because you got to put Gronk in first time ballot when he gets there, So we'll see how it goes. But I just wanted a quick hit, get into Julian Edelman making it to the Patriots Hall of Fame. Shout out Jules, man. Let's get right into it. Again, like I said, not a whole lot going on as far as what we could talk about for the Patriots, because yes, they're practicing, but the media is not privy to those practices except for one, and that's what we're going to talk about. Before we get into all that, let's talk about Forged in Foxboro episode 1. That was the docuseries that the Patriots are starting to put out, outlining, I guess, pretty much just the start of Mike Vrabel taking over the Patriots. And I don't know how many episodes they're going to put out, but that's where this one starts at. So let's talk about Forged in Foxboro, right? Obviously it's team made, Patriots produced, so it's going to be positive. It's not going to really be any negative things going on in the episode, but that's good. As Patriots fans, we want positivity. We want to see what's going on behind the scenes of our team. We want to see how the new regime is working, all of those things. So I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, they're just showing us the happy-go-lucky stuff. Why would you want to see anything else at this point, right? We need good news, good vibes around the Patriots right now. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't mind it. The only thing that I minded, I felt like it kind of dragged a little bit. It was like an hour plus. And I think something like that could kind of be like 30 minutes. Like they spent a lot of time on draft stuff. And I don't think everybody is as big as a draft person as they might be thinking. Like a lot of people don't really care about the ins and outs of the draft. They just want to know who we drafted, right? So they spent a lot of time on who's making the decisions and who's making the calls and the scouts and why, that kind of thing. And I get it, but at the end of the day, I think the average fan doesn't care that it's Elliott Wolf with final say, stuff like that. That's like super fan, Boston media stuff that they care about. The average fan doesn't care about who's making the final call on draft picks. I'm just being straight up. I kind of fall in the middle. I mean, it doesn't matter who has final say. It matters who was the pick. At the end of the day, I don't care if it was Mike Vrabel that chose the pick or if it was Elliott Wolf that chose the pick. That means nothing to me. Is the player good or not? the most important thing I think I took from Forged in Foxboro, was Mike Vrabel's message to the team. He preached accountability, wanting to come to work, taking care of your teammates, the staff, cooking, cleaning crew, taking care of everybody, just being proud to come into the building. And he gave an example, him and Caden Wallace. So he stood beside Caden Wallace and walked him 8 steps and walked him back. And then he stood in front of him and pushed on him, and Caden Wallace didn't move. So I think what he was trying to illustrate was that he wants to be alongside the players on this journey with as much minimal conflict as possible, because nobody moves when there's conflict, but we can move together if we, moving together with minimal resistance. And I think that's a good message. It just goes to show, like, players coach. He wants to coach them hard, but he wants to be alongside of them doing the hard work. And I think that is a good sign. It's not, just him just saying my way or the highway. It's, hey, how can we get from point A to point B together in the best way, in the most efficient way? And he also made it clear to say that I don't give a damn what happened last year. Like, in his own words, he was like, why the fuck would I care about what happened last year? Right. So that's a good sign too, that and you can see it throughout the offseason, he's wiping clean the slate. There's no players left from the teams that won Super Bowls. There's like all the captains from last year, except for like Jabril Peppers, are all gone. The team, it's built in his image. This is now his team. And he wants to illustrate that, and he wants everybody to have a clean slate. And he's basically telling everybody, I don't care what you've done, good or bad. Now that I'm here, I'm going to see what you can do and make my decisions on my team moving forward. So I really appreciated that message from Mike Vrabel. And then, like I said, draft room stuff, we can kind of skip through that. If you choose to watch it, there's some good stuff in there about the draft. The one key thing I want to talk about from the draft is the trade that never was, right? So at pick 38, there was a lot of, litigation about who they wanted to go with, because I believe a guard that they wanted had came off the board. So apparently Elliott Wolf wanted Travion Henderson, running back from Ohio State, really bad. But a couple of offers came in. So Chicago was willing to trade them their 39th pick to jump up to 38th and a 7th round pick. They obviously didn't value that. But the trade that everyone's talking about is from the Texans. And the Texans offered a package deal with picks 58, 79 in 2025, so this year, and then a 2026 third round pick. So if you ask the draft nerds and they do their calculations, that's probably a hell of a haul for the 38th pick, right? Patriots said no and went ahead and picked Travion Henderson. So what does that mean, right? That means we're going to be watching who got picked at those spots on the Texans and against Travion Henderson. And if Travion Henderson, and that's not to say that the Patriots would have picked those players. What I'm saying is that if Travion Henderson is not as good as what the 38th pick constitutes, then people are going to be talking about how the Patriots should have taken that trade over and over again. I don't know enough about value in the draft, like scientifically, and the formulas that go into it. But I'm a huge advocate of sticking and picking. If the player you want is there, pick the player. Even when I do mock drafts, I don't even like to trade that much, because if the player that I want is there, I want that player. I don't want to trade, get more picks, and get the lesser version of that player. If that player is really good, I want that player. And I think that's how the Patriots saw it. They say, hey, man, yeah, we could probably get RJ Harvey later down the draft and another receiver, blah, 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 this, that, the third. They wanted Travion Henderson, and they knew if they traded out of 38, Travion Henderson was not going to be there. So they did the right thing. And, well, to me, they did the right thing and stuck and picked the player that they wanted. And sometimes it's just that simple. Just take the player that you want. Just like last year, some people wanted them to trade out and not draft Drake Maye and trade out of that and get like a JJ McCarthy or something. No, they wanted Drake Maye, and that's who they got. JJ ended up getting hurt last year. Not to say that would have happened if he came to us, but then what? So again, stick and pick, man. That's how I see the draft most times. Once you start getting those later rounds and, the players that you wanted are off the board, yeah, mess around with it. But in those early rounds, stick and pick, man. Stick and pick. It's a reason that the Texans were trying to give you all these picks to get there, because they wanted the guy you wanted. So that should, vindicate you and let you know we're getting the right player. So that's all I got on I keep messing this up. Forged in Foxboro. I'm going to get that right for y'all. I promise. Forged in Foxboro, episode 1. I'm not sure when episode 2 is coming out yet. They haven't said, but I'll be interested to see. That should have a little bit more like practice footage and stuff like that, since they're getting into voluntary camp and OTAs and stuff like that. So getting right into OTAs, let's talk about some OTA thoughts. Obviously, the headline, the number one thing everybody's going to talk about, Drake Maye threw 4 picks. Yeah, that's right. 4 picks in passing camp, which is basically what OTAs is. Just no pads, no real contact to passing camp. So initially that sounds bad, right? Even when I heard it, and I've been a little bit of a pessimist in the last couple of years because of how the team has been. When I heard it, I'm like, oh, here we go. Nothing's changed. Same guy. There's been no development, no offseason work. He's still a turnover machine. What is happening? And I had to step back and kind of just think about the different things that are going on, right? Our defense is, especially our secondary, is top tier, right? Christian Gonzalez. We have Christian Gonzalez, who's already an All-Pro, and so when he's gonna iron sharpens iron. Sorry, I had a bit of a brain fart there. Iron sharpens iron. So Christian Gonzalez, being the All-Pro that he is, he's going to make Drake Maye that much better, right? So Drake Maye's probably taking it upon himself to try Christian Gonzalez, because he knows Christian Gonzalez is remnants of the best corners that he's going to see throughout the season, which is kind of my thought process on why he kept trying them and, throwing interceptions, right? So the more that he tries them, maybe, and he starts completing those passes over him, it'll help build his confidence. But right now, Gonzalez is picking that off because Gonzalez has the advantage, because the offense is new and they're working through the offense. Receivers are trying to get their routes down. Drake Maye's trying to get timing down. Excuse me. The Patriots defense have the upper hand on the offense right now. And then you have Carlton Davis on the other side. So you have one of probably, if not the best, top 2 or 3 cornerback tandem in the league right now. So Drake Maye has no choice but to try either one of those dudes. And both those dudes are playmakers. So I had to step back from my pessimistic side, get off my soapbox, because I was really down about him throwing 4 picks in practice. Like, that doesn't sound good. And I know a lot of people say, oh, Tom Brady threw picks in practice all the time and blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Tom Brady was not a turnover machine. So if you heard about Tom Brady throwing picks in practice, that was admiration. Like that wasn't that something happened that day. The defense just got him that day, but that's not the norm. Hearing that Drake Maye threw 4 picks in practice, you're like, oh, here we go. He hasn't cleaned up the turnover, the problem, and that's kind of how that's what happened to me. So my hope is that Drake Maye, in the midst of him learning this offense, can develop and get more accurate and get better timing and just let it rip. And I think he's going to turn the ball over in practice against this defense, because the defense is that good. But he needs to start winning days against this defense, because he will play defenses that are better. So we'll see what Drake Maye's development looks like. But like I said, the headline is going to be Drake Maye throws 4 picks in practice. So that's me trying to be optimistic about it. We'll see how it goes, the next time the media is allowed to go to an OTA. Another thing that was noticed with that it's a crowded wide receiver room. I think they have like 11 or 12 receivers there. It's going to be interesting to see, especially like who's showing up, who's available, who's not hurt. Obviously, Stephon Diggs wasn't there, but his spot is locked. So I think we got Stephon Diggs going to make the team. Mac Hollins wasn't available, but his spot is probably locked too. And Demario Douglas. I think those are the only, well, Kyle Williams because he's a drafted rookie. Those are the only 4 locked in spots. And I think they normally carry 6 on the active roster. So that's a crazy competition between Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, Kendrick Bourne, Kayshon Boutte, Efton Chisholm, all these players. There's only 2 spots. I don't know how this is going to work. They can't keep 10 receivers. They just can't do that. So I do not know. I think as Patriots fans, we're going to be a little bit disappointed in any direction if any of those players don't make the team. I know I'll be especially disappointed if Kayshon Boutte is cut. I know that he was drafted a lot later than Javon Baker and Jalen Polk, but I think he's better than those dudes, man. And I think his ceiling is better than those dudes. I think he's more explosive. I think I know he had some ups and downs, but I would prefer Kayshon Boutte on the team than Jalen Polk or Javon Baker. Hell, and even Kendrick Bourne. I think we should move forward with a guy like Kayshon Boutte, who had a lot of potential in college. Some things derailed that, but you can see that the talent is there, and Drake May trusts him, as we can see. So I'm going to be extremely disappointed if Kayshon Boutte is cut. I won't feel, I mean, if you watch this podcast, you've heard my thoughts on Jalen Polk. Javon Baker, I mean, if we could keep him on a practice squad to help him develop and, you know, maybe elevate him some games, that would be great. Kendrick Bourne, I'm willing to part ways with. I think he's a good dude, but I think his ceiling has been met. And why give your spot to somebody who's reached their ceiling when you have players whose ceilings are still, you know, attainable in this offense? That's just my thought on it. I know they paid him, but I'm willing to part ways with Kendrick Bourne. If they keep him, cool. If they don't, cool. It's one of the ones I'm not going to care too much about either way. I would just rather see a guy like Kayshon Boutte stay on the roster and continue to grow and get better. As far as the running back room goes, prayers and condolences out to Ramondre Stevenson. He lost his father over the summer, so that's why he hasn't been, you know, at these practices. In a football sense, I don't think it's going to hurt him too bad because his role, they only have one of him on the roster, that bell cow, run down the middle kind of running back, whereas Antonio Gibson and Land Larison and obviously Travion Henderson are kind of speed guys. So I think Ramondre's spot is safe. But the competition between people like Land Larison, Travion Henderson, and Antonio Gibson should be interesting. And based on practice, it seemed like Travion Henderson was getting a lot of burn. I think they're going to really like that guy. So that's, you know, just quick thoughts on the running back room. I think it's going to be Ramondre and Travion Henderson getting the bulk of the carries. If they can keep a guy like Land Larison on the practice squad, they'll probably keep him. And I think they still will carry Antonio Gibson as well. Other than that, as far as OTAs, I think my only little small thing was I wonder who's going to play, you know, free safety. I know Craig Woodson was back there. Jalen Hawkins was back there because Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers were limited. Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers are not free safeties. So I'm interested to see who's going to be that free safety. Is it going to be Craig Woodson? Is it going to be Jalen Hawkins? Is it going to be Marcus Epps that they got from the Raiders? Who's going to fill that role? And how many safeties are they going to carry? And is there even a spot for somebody like Marte Mapu? I don't think so. So that safety room is going to be very interesting nugget to watch on that defense throughout the course of this offseason and going into mini camp and training camp. So yeah, that like I said, there's not a whole lot to talk about as far as Patriots media goes right now, but I just wanted to get on here. I told you guys I'm going to stay more consistent, so I went with what we got. And I know the media is going to have availability at some more of these OTA practices. So the more nuggets that we hear from the team, or if there's any more things that come out from the team, I'll be here to give you guys the news. So, like we always do on this podcast, let's get into Music Minute. I don't know. I'm just trying to say that a different way every time. I don't know. We'll see which one sticks, right? So for Music Minute this week, I want to talk about this dude, Belly Gang Cushington. Now, I might be late on him personally, but I recently discovered that he's from Atlanta. He really sounds like Jeezy. Like, if you like Jeezy, you're going to like Belly Gang Cushington. Interesting nugget about him. He looks like a straight up white man. Ginger hair. Looks like a white dude. Apparently his dad's black. So when you hear him say the N-word, that's why. Because he has a black dad. So don't be alarmed if you watch a video or something. But The Streets Is Yours is the name of his album. I think y'all should go check that out. My favorite songs on there are 75 on 75, Sorry Mama, You Need to Leave, and the outro, Soul Food outro. On that outro, he used the Static Major sample, the same one that Drake used for Look What You've Done. It's good, man. Go listen to that. So Belly Gang Cushington, that's the feature artist on this week's Music Minute. Another thing that's going on in the music world, if you're really in the weeds of hip hop, Joey Badass versus the West Coast. You got Joey Badass, Absol and Big Sean dropped a cypher, and that kind of just spun this whole thing up. It's been a lot of back and forth between Joey Badass and the rapper from the West Coast, Daylight, who is with TDE. Ray Vaughn dropped a diss track. Reason dropped a diss track. It's been a lot of back and forth between Joey Badass and West Coast artists. So if you're into, hip hop and battle rap and those kind of things, check out those disses. They're dropping music at an insane rate. Yeah, that's all we got. Hey, episode 11. We moving this thing along, man. So I appreciate all you guys' support. Keep watching, keep commenting, keep liking, keep subscribing to the channel, keep sharing with your friends, all of that. Thank y'all for everything. Patriots Podcast. I'm your host, Beej, Beej.com, Beethoven, whatever you want to call me, signing off.